My stepdaughter, whom I have loved and cared for as my own for several years, accused me of abuse and inappropriate advances. I was devastated and completely blindsided by these false allegations and have basically lost everything I have worked for my whole life. It has nearly destroyed my marriage, and I'm not even thinking of the damage it has potentially caused my professional life. Even though the truth has come out, I can't believe that someone I had treated with kindness and love would make such harmful claims against me. I've been married to my wife Rachel for 6 years. When my wife and I got married, Alex was 13 years old and already had the makings of a troublemaker, to put it mildly. I have a son, Ryan, who is a year older than Alex. I try to be as gentle and easy on her as possible because my wife's divorce and her marriage with her ex-husband in general were quite troubled, and I understand how hard it must be for a kid to go through that. I also understand that teenagers can be difficult, as I have a kid of my own. I felt confident that I could be a good dad to Alex. I had obviously met her several times before marrying her mom, and she struck me as the typical moody teenager, and I never expected any serious trouble from her. Boy, was I wrong. Soon after my wedding and moving into my new house with my son, wife, and Alex, I began to realize that she basically enjoyed making me miserable every chance she could get. This ranged anywhere from occasionally lashing out at her mom for leaving her dad just because I have money, to rejecting and questioning basically anything I did for her. She also accused me of favoring my son over her, which is completely false. So things have always been bad, to put it mildly. After initially trying to win her over, I just gave up and we sort of fell into a routine of staying out of each other's way. Alex recently graduated and celebrated her 19th birthday. Her bio dad was there at the birthday party and announced in front of everyone that he was super proud of Alex and that he'd be paying for her entire college tuition. This came as a surprise to me and my wife because we didn't know he had the financial means for that. But of course, we were happy for Alex. She is a pretty smart kid and got accepted into a bunch of good schools. Anyway, it has been around a few months since the birthday party, and Alex has chosen where she wants to go. She contacted her dad about the money, and he did what he does best: back out of promises. He made up lame excuses about how there was an emergency which cost him a lot of money, and now he can't afford to pay for her college anymore. He barely spoke to her and hung up and wasn't picking up her calls or my wife's calls. Alex was devastated, but honestly, I saw this coming miles ago. We were having a conversation during dinner about how we'll be paying for Alex's college now, and her mom told her that she'll help out as much as she can, but she'll still have to take a student loan. She chose this college because she thought that since both her mom and dad were offering to help her out, she could afford it. Since it's only my wife now, things are looking grim. She then said that I should help out. I told her I would love to, but with Ryan's college expenses and all the other bills, I just can't afford to. She got really mad and said some quite hurtful things about me that I just ignored. We had sort of a Cold War situation in the house about this matter that resulted in another big fight that got pretty ugly, but I thought that would settle it. I was, however, terribly wrong. Before getting into what happened, I'm just making it clear that neither I nor my wife are in any form of social media apart from my LinkedIn profile. I have never been interested, and she quit recently because she just wasn't interested anymore. Back to the fight. We had a major argument and things got sort of heated. I said that Alex was ungrateful for everything I've done for her and naive for believing a single word out of her dad's mouth. I realized that was harsh and fully intended to apologize for what I said, but apparently I was too late. That night, Alex made a Twitter post with a completely false story about being abused by her stepfather for years and how, since she wants to go to college, He is refusing to even pay for her education to push her into debt. Obviously, the person in this story is me, but I have never even raised my voice at her, let alone be abusive. The whole story was a lie. Twitter did its thing and some people found my LinkedIn. I was not working that day, but got a call from my boss who said that I must explain myself or I was getting fired immediately. I was extremely confused and asked him what he meant, and he told me to check the company's LinkedIn profile. When I checked the profile, it was filled with extremely hateful texts against me from strangers. My profile was also bombarded with all kinds of threats and whatnot. I panicked and looked into what happened and found Twitter. I just completely lost my mind. I immediately called my wife, she was at work, and asked her to come back. The moment she was back, we confronted Alex. I told her that what she did was extremely serious and I can get fired from my job. She said that I should have thought of that before being mean to her and said that was verbal abuse. I was just shocked. I couldn't even say anything. Her mom got really mad at her though and told her that she needs to take down the post immediately and make a new post saying whatever she said was a lie, but she refused. In the beginning, I tried to reason with her, hoping to find a resolution and clear up any misunderstandings. I begged her to consider the consequences of her actions and the impact they would have on our family. Unfortunately, my attempts at reconciliation were met with stubbornness and a refusal to acknowledge the truth. That's when things got really bad. It was around 8 p.m. and I heard the doorbell. I checked the security cam and there were 2 police officers at the door. I cannot begin to describe my fear of that. I got to the door and one of the officers asked if I was my name, and I said yes. He then said that they had gotten a call about parental abuse and needed to take me into questioning. I tried to explain the situation, but by that time, both my wife and Alex were behind me at the door. My wife also tried to frantically make them understand, but they wouldn't listen and asked me to follow them to the police vehicle or they'd be forced to handcuff me. I think Alex was finally realizing what she had done when the cops took out the handcuffs. She started crying and said that she was lying and none of it was true. What followed was a lot of confusion. Long story short, the officers questioned her to make sure she wasn't taking her statements back under pressure, and now her post is deleted. That was around 4 days ago. Situations have been very tense at home. I had a lot of trouble at my workplace too, and despite arguing with my boss, I have been fired. Alex hasn't been talking to me. She hasn't apologized. Considering the seriousness of the situation, I decided that I would like to sue her for tarnishing my reputation. It was a difficult decision to make, but I felt like it was necessary. The whole process has taken a toll on my mental well-being and strained my relationships with family members. However, I firmly believe that I must stand up for justice and truth, even if it means enduring further hardship. Sadly, my decision to pursue legal action has resulted in a division within the family. Most of my family, including my wife, is siding with my stepdaughter and believes that I have been too harsh in response to her allegations. The only person supporting me is my son. The rest of my family is urging me to drop the charges and reconcile with my stepdaughter, claiming that it would be in everyone's best interest to put the past behind us. AITA for suing my stepdaughter. Update 1. Updating to clarify some things I didn't mention in my original post. My boss has fired me, saying that keeping me employed is bad for the company's reputation, and because a few of my coworkers found out about the whole thing and have complained. Although legally there are no charges against me and my record is clean, they had to let me go. My boss is very sympathetic though. I had worked there for 12 years and he has assured me that he has no problem referring and speaking highly of me to any future employers if I need him to. I work in construction and I know that it won't be impossible for me to get a new job, but it's a small town and I'm sure many people know about the whole spectacle and it won't be easy either. Update 2. I cannot believe I'm writing this, but my wife and I have separated. We've been having a very difficult time processing everything that has happened, and she told me that if I choose to go forward with the lawsuit, she can't be with me. She has moved out with Alex, and they're currently living with my wife's older sister and her family. I don't know if we'll be getting a divorce yet. I love my wife and don't want that to happen at all, but at the same time, I feel this is something I need to do for myself and that I should stick to what I believe in. Update 3. I've decided to go forward with the lawsuit. I have a team of good lawyers. We've got the date for our first hearing. Hopefully, things will go well. Thanks for sticking by and all your support. I truly appreciate it. NTA, what she did is horrendous, and she is not a kid. She is literally 19 and not 9, so she understands that her actions have consequences. NTA, what she did was extremely serious, and she deserves to face serious consequences. Even if you didn't lose your job, it is still something that has affected you emotionally and impacted your image negatively. I'm sorry your family isn't being supportive, although I get their perspective as well. But I believe you should pursue this issue however it seems fair to you. And if you think suing your stepdaughter is the way to go, then you should go ahead with it. Next story. I, 14, female, have many things wrong with me. The main focus of this story, however, is my allergy to tree nuts and my autism. My sister, female, 11, recently had her birthday party. She made a decision to have a cake that contains tree nuts. She's very aware of my allergy. Being 3 years older than everyone at the party meant I was just kind of standing around with the occasional interaction or activity. I was standing on the porch watching everyone out in the yard when suddenly I see my sister and her friend sneak around the side of the house. Curious as to what was going on, I went inside to peer through the window so I could see them. Going inside was my biggest mistake. I make my way towards the window, which happened to be inside the kitchen. I lean up against the counter to look out the window when I hear something from behind me. "Hey, OP!" I turned around and was quickly met with cake being flung in my face and all the girls exploding into laughter. I wiped the cake off my face and frantically start trying to wash it off my face and clothes in the sink. The sensory discomfort paired with the risk of the tree nuts inside the cake caused me to go into a meltdown. I finally got the icing off my face and I started crying. The adults who had realized the absence of children came inside searching for us and saw the situation. My mom picks me up by my sleeve off the floor I crouched down onto and yanked me into the bathroom and locked the door. She began to do that whisper scream thing parents do when they're angry at you, and she told me I was a major a-hole for ruining my sister's cake and stealing her attention. Still being in a state of meltdown, I couldn't speak. All I could do was cry. I will not speak of what happened next. Assume as you please. Nothing physical, just don't want to repeat those things. I made my way back inside to the party, still upset about my now dirty clothing, and I was met with my sister and her friends berating me for ruining her party and making it all about me. Still being vulnerable from the recent meltdown, I was visibly about to cry. I don't remember what happened next, but I can only assume it was bad. It's been 2 weeks since the party, and all sorts of people are telling me I'm an a-hole. They say I'm dramatic and I was fine since I didn't have a reaction to the cake. I'm not even meant to be typing this because I'm grounded for making my sister suffer. I feel like an a-hole even though I can't see what I did wrong. I feel awful for taking away the spotlight from my sister at her own party. I don't quite know what I could have done wrong, but I think I might have. So AITA? Sounds like your sibling and her friends are bullies. I wouldn't be surprised if she's pissed at you for needing more attention than her. NTA, your sister planned it. I'd be going to hang with friends whenever her and her friends are home, or it's her birthday. NTA, that is emotional abuse, straight up emotional abuse. There is no way of sugarcoating it. You need to tell an adult you trust, like an extended family member or school counselor. Trust me when I say that is not normal behavior. They are not supposed to treat you that way at all. Both your mom and sister. No matter what they say, no matter how they say it, it's abuse. Please, please, please talk to a trusted adult about what happened. Ignoring a child in distress regarding anaphylactic shock is child neglect. I can't stress this enough. You did nothing wrong. Your mother is being irresponsible and abusive, and your sister is undisciplined. Please seek help. Next story. I'm divorced, but I have primary custody of my 3 kids, 16, 12, and 8. Last week I took them all to the zoo, and it was mostly a good experience. The 2 younger kids especially liked it, but my oldest isn't very fond of animals. We passed a zookeeper working hard cleaning a giraffe exhibit, and to my surprise, my 16-year-old son pointed and said to his brother, "That's why you do good in school, I guess, or you end up scooping poop for a job." He said it loud, too. The keeper and nearby guests surely heard. I was very embarrassed. I quickly led them away and left the zoo soon after and asked him where he learned to talk like that. I said, "That's not even true. Don't many of them have master's degrees and higher?" But he said he thinks it's gross menial work for people who don't want to work with their intellect. And anyone could do it. Referencing enclosure cleaning, I assume. I was pretty appalled by how he's learned to look down on manual labor, but particularly zookeeping because, as I understand, it's not even easy. Sure, it's manual labor, but I don't think I could do what those zookeepers do every day. I gag from our cat's litter box alone. I thought the best way to teach him more respect and appreciation was to sign him up to volunteer at the zoo, so that's what I did. I found a zookeeper for a week program at a zoo not far from here and enrolled him. When I told him, he was very upset and said, "Why would you do that? That sounds awful." I told him I thought he'd said it was easy, so surely just 1 week wouldn't hurt. But he said, "Yeah, cleaning up messes is easy, in that anyone can do it, but that doesn't mean I want to." His father thinks this was too harsh when he found out. I'm guessing some of his sentiments may be influencing these attitudes, but I decided to stick with it. AITA? TLDR. Son has negative, insulting attitude towards zookeepers and manual labor and embarrassed me at the zoo. I'm forcing him to volunteer at a zoo for a week. YTA, although it's a very soft YTA. Here's why. All you're doing is taking your son's bad attitude and making it the problem of the employees at the zoo, i.e. the very people he wants to denigrate. Are you going to be there to make sure he isn't disrespectful? If you aren't, he's probably going to behave very badly or at least not do the work. Personally, I'd take the kid to one of those Ask a Zookeeper events and I'd go with him to ensure he doesn't speak poorly or create issues and pointedly ask about their schooling, qualifications, and etc. I think your attitude is absolutely correct, but I also think when we punish or correct children, we have to make sure not to essentially foist them onto someone else, especially if that someone else is someone they will not respect or will be belligerent to. That said, since the sign-up is done, maybe you can see if you can go with him to make sure that he behaves and those questions get answered. At least for the first day or something. NTA, son needs to learn to put his money where his mouth is, and that if you screw around, you may just find out. Also, as a conservation zoo professional, it is not just scooping poop, and you almost always need a degree, at least an associate's. It's also an incredibly hard field to get into, so no, many don't necessarily have a master's or higher, but many are required to have an associate's and often a bachelor's. Zoos are also so much more than just zookeepers. Any job you can think of, you can find it at the zoo. NTA. Your son may not value zookeepers, but they're probably highly qualified and also probably love their job, even if parts of it aren't that glamorous. Your son needs to learn not to look down on people who are doing an honest day's work, whatever that work may be. Communities need all sorts of workers. Not everyone can be a doctor or lawyer, and not everyone wants to be one either. Some people love manual, practical jobs, others don't. Finding a job you enjoy is important too, not just the wages, given how much of our lives we spend working. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl